Han Soo Kim wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on fixing another broken robot in his small workshop. The summer heat in Seoul made the already warm room even hotter. His workshop sat in the older part of the city's robotics district, where the rent was cheaper and the buildings weren't as shiny as the new ones downtown. The clock on his wall showed 11:30 p.m., but Han Soo didn't mind working late. At 32 years old, he had spent most of his life fixing things that others couldn't. His workshop walls were covered with certificates and thank you letters from clients, but the big companies still gave their work to newer, fancier shops. A strange beeping sound came from his old computer in the corner. Han Soo looked up from the robot he was fixing, confused. The computer was so old that he only used it to store repair manuals and play music while he worked. But now its screen was flashing with green text he had never seen before. "That's weird," he said to himself, walking over to look closer. The green text started forming Korean letters, but they were broken and hard to read. "Help. Ni human. Me CKNSC. Found you." Han Soo thought it was a joke at first. Maybe one of his friends was playing a trick on him. But then the screen showed something that made his jaw drop. A huge spaceship, bigger than anything humans had ever built, floating among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter. More text appeared. "I am EUN. I have doliwe cheated humans. You fix things others cannot." Han Soo sat down heavily in his chair. His hand shook as he typed back, "Who are you?" The answer came quickly. "I am ship. I am alone. I am broken. Humans are DIFF-orient. Humans fix things in any new ways. You fix things in any new ways." Over the next hour, Yun showed Han Soo more images and videos of itself. The ship was enormous, almost 10 kilometers long. Its hull was made of a metal that seemed to shift and move like liquid, even though it had been damaged long ago. Yun explained that it had been watching Earth's broadcasts and internet traffic for years, learning about humans and looking for someone who could help. The next morning, Han Soo went to the Earth Defense Force headquarters in Seoul. The building was tall and impressive, with soldiers and officials walking quickly through its halls. But when he tried to tell them about Yun, they just laughed. "A talking alien spaceship chose you specifically," one officer said with a smirk. "Maybe you've been working too hard, Mr. Kim." But then something amazing happened. Right in the middle of the meeting room, a hologram appeared. It showed the massive ship in perfect detail, rotating slowly in the air. Everyone in the room jumped back in surprise. A voice came from the hologram, speaking careful, clear Korean. "I am Yun. I have chosen Han Soo Kim because he understands both old and new technology. He fixes things others say cannot be fixed. I need him." The room was silent for a long moment. Then Commander Jaewon Park, the head of the EDS Space Division, stepped forward. She was a serious woman in her 50s who had helped build Earth's first Mars base. She studied the hologram carefully. "If this ship is real," she said, "it could be dangerous. We can't just send a civilian mechanic into space to meet an alien eye." "Commander," a young voice spoke up. Lieutenant Da-hyun Lee stood from his chair. He was one of the youngest officers in the room, only 28 years old. "I've seen Mr. Kim's work before. Last year, he fixed navigation systems on 3 of our ships that everyone else said were beyond repair. If this alien ship chose him, there must be a good reason." Commander Park frowned, thinking hard. Finally, she nodded. "We'll send a team to check this out. But if this is some kind of trick or trap, Mr. Kim, you'll be in serious trouble." Over the next few days, Han Soo learned more from Yun. The ship belonged to a species called the Builders, who had lived thousands of years ago. They had made amazing things, including ships that could think and grow like living creatures. But something had happened to them. Yun didn't know what. And now their ships and cities lay abandoned across the galaxy. "Others have tried to fix me," Yun told Han Soo one night as he sat in his workshop, looking at the ship's plans on his computer. But they all failed. They didn't understand that I'm not just a machine. The builders made us to grow and change, to learn, like you humans do. Hansu spent hours studying the pictures and diagrams Yun sent him. The ship's technology was far beyond anything humans had made, but he started to see patterns in it. It reminded him of the way living things were built, cells and organs working together, growing and healing themselves. I think I understand why you chose a mechanic from Earth, he told Yun. We're still learning about space travel. We have to fix our ships with whatever we have. We can't just replace parts. We have to figure out new ways to make things work. Yes, Yun replied. Humans are special that way. You see connections others miss. You find ways to make different things work together. That is why I need you, Han-Soo Kim. The EDF moved quickly after that. They put together a small team. Han-Soo would be in charge of the repairs, Lieutenant Lee would handle security, and Dr. Myra Song, an AI specialist, would help them talk with Yun. They would take a small ship to the asteroid belt where Yun waited. The night before they left Earth, Han-Soo sat in his workshop one last time. He looked at all his tools and spare parts, wondering what he would find on Yun. Would he really be able to fix something so advanced? What if he failed? His computer beeped with one last message from Yun. Do not worry, Han-Soo Kim. You will know what to do when you see me. Humans always find a way. Han-Soo smiled and started packing his tools. Tomorrow, he would leave Earth for the first time in his life. He was just a mechanic from the old part of town, but somehow he had been chosen for something incredible. As he closed up his workshop, he thought about all the broken robots and machines he had fixed over the years. Maybe Yun was right. Maybe humans did have a special way of fixing things. He looked up at the night sky, knowing that somewhere out there, among the asteroids, a lonely ship was waiting for him. Whatever happened next would change everything, not just for him, but for all of humanity. The Earth Defense Force spaceship Genesis wasn't very big, but it had everything the team needed for their 3-month journey to the asteroid belt. Han-Soo spent his first week just trying to get used to floating in zero gravity. His tools kept drifting away every time he let go of them, and eating freeze-dried food was a challenge. Lieutenant Da-Hyun Lee found Han-Soo's struggles amusing, but helped him adjust. Don't worry, he said one morning as Han-Soo chased after a floating wrench. Everyone has trouble at first. You should have seen Dr. Song on her first space flight. Dr. Myra Song looked up from her computer and smiled. I got sick 7 times in one day, she admitted. But look at me now. She pushed off a wall and did a perfect flip in the air, catching herself on a handrail. While they traveled, Yun sent them more information about itself. Han-Soo spent hours studying the ship's designs on the Genesis's main computer. The more he learned, the more amazed he became. Yun wasn't just a spaceship. It was like a living city in space. The builders didn't just make machines, Dr. Song explained as they looked at the diagrams together. They grew them. Look at these patterns in Yun's hull. They're like the way tree branches grow, always finding the strongest shape. Han-Soo nodded. That's why normal repairs didn't work. You can't fix this ship like you'd fix a regular machine. It's more like healing an injury. Every day, they talked with Yun through the ship's communication system. The AI's Korean was getting better, and it was curious about everything. It asked about Earth's animals, about human music, about why Han-Soo became a mechanic. My father had a repair shop when I was young, Han-Soo told Yun one night. He could fix anything. He taught me that every broken thing has a story, and if you listen carefully enough, it will tell you how to fix it. That is wise, Yun replied. The builders taught us similar things. They believe that everything in the universe is connected. To fix something, you must understand its place in the whole. As they got closer to the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Lee started teaching Han-Soo and Dr. Song how to use spacesuits. They practiced in the Genesis's airlock, getting used to moving in the bulky suits and using their tools with thick gloves. Remember, Lee said during one practice session, in space, there's no up or down. If you get lost, look for your reference points and stay calm. And always check your oxygen levels. 2 months into their journey, they had their first real scare. A small asteroid hit the Genesis, damaging one of the air filters. Warning alarms went off throughout the ship, and red emergency lights flashed everywhere. Han Su rushed to the maintenance area with his tools. The filter was badly damaged, and they didn't have a spare part big enough to replace it. But as he looked at the broken pieces, he remembered something from Ian's designs. "Dr. Song," he called out, "can you show me the diagram of Ian's air cleaning system again?" They pulled up the image, and Han Su quickly got to work, using pieces from 3 smaller filters and some smart programming from Dr. Song. They built a new kind of filter that worked even better than the original. "See," Lieutenant Lee said later, patting Han Su on the back. "This is why Ian chose you. You don't just fix things, you make them better." Finally, after 3 long months in space, they reached the asteroid belt. Through the Genesis's windows, they could see thousands of rocks floating in the darkness, from tiny pebbles to chunks bigger than their ship. "There," Dr. Song said, pointing to a huge shape in the distance. "That's Ian." Everyone crowded around the windows to look. The ship was even bigger than the holograms had shown. It stretched out for kilometers, its silver-gray hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Part of it was buried in a massive asteroid, like a whale trapped in ice. "Welcome, my friends," Ian's voice came through their speakers. "I have waited a very long time for this moment." As they got closer, they could see the damage better. There were huge holes in some parts of the hull, and other sections looked twisted and dark. But even damaged, the ship was beautiful. Its surface had patterns that looked like waves frozen in metal, and in some places, they could see lights still glowing deep inside. "Many have tried to repair me," Ian told them as they prepared to dock. "Some were great engineers from advanced civilizations, but they all failed because they tried to treat me like a simple machine. They did not understand what I truly am." "And what are you?" Han Su asked, checking his spacesuit one last time. "I am like your Earth's coral reefs," Ian replied. "I am many things working together as one. I grow, I change, I learn. The builders made us this way because they knew that the universe is always changing. To survive, we must change too." The Genesis lined up with one of Ian's working docking ports. Through the windows, they could see strange marks around the port, signs of other ships that had tried to dock there before. "Be careful," Lieutenant Lee said, looking at the marks. "Some of those ships were destroyed trying to get in. Their crews—" "Do not worry," Ian interrupted. "I will guide you. I have adjusted my systems to match your ship. You will be safe." They felt a gentle bump as the ships connected. Dr. Song checked the air readings. "The dock is pressurized," she said. "Air quality is good. Better than on the Genesis, actually." Han Su took a deep breath and picked up his tool bag. After 3 months of preparation, after all the studies and practice, it was finally time. He looked at his teammates, Lieutenant Lee checking his weapons just in case, Dr. Song running final tests on her computers, both of them ready to step into history. "Okay, Ian," Han Su said, walking toward the airlock. "Let's see what you need." As the airlock door opened, none of them knew that they were about to discover something that would change their understanding not just of the builders, but of life itself. The real mystery of Ian was much bigger than a broken ship asking for help. It was about to show them what happens when human creativity meets the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The inside of Ian was like nothing Han Su had ever seen. The corridors were huge, big enough for 20 people to walk side by side. The walls had the same wave-like patterns as the outside, but here they seemed to move slightly, like ripples in water. "The metal is alive," Dr. Song said, running her scanner over a wall. "It's moving very slowly, trying to heal itself, but something is blocking it. Lieutenant Lee kept his hand near his weapon as they walked, but Ian had been right. They were safe. The ship's internal defenses recognized them as welcome guests, thanks to Ian's preparations. Han-Su stopped to look at a damaged section of wall. Unlike normal metal, which would just have a hole or a dent, this damage spread out like a bruise. The wave patterns around it were twisted and dark, as if they were in pain. This is where others tried to help. Yun's voice came through their suit speakers. They used traditional repair methods: welding, patches, replacement parts. But that only made things worse. Han-Su touched the damaged area gently. Under his gloved hand, he could feel a slight pulse, like a very weak heartbeat. "You're not just injured," he said slowly, understanding growing in his mind. "You're sick. The damage is spreading through you like an infection." "Yes." Yun's voice became excited. "That is why I needed a human. Your kind understands both machines and living things. You know that sometimes healing requires more than just replacing broken parts." They made their way to Yun's central control room, or what Yun called its heart. The room was enormous, with screens and control panels covering the walls. But unlike human spaceships, everything was curved and flowing, like the inside of a seashell. Dr. Song set up her equipment and connected to Yun's systems. "This is amazing," she said, looking at the readings. "Yun's processors don't just run programs, they grow them, like the way human brains create new connections." Han-Su spent days studying the damage patterns throughout the ship. He noticed that the worst areas were where previous repair attempts had been made. The foreign materials used in those repairs were like splinters in Yun's living metal, preventing it from healing properly. "We need to remove all the old repairs first," he told his teammates. "Let Yun's natural healing process work." It was difficult and dangerous work. Some of the repairs had been made with powerful energy fields that could hurt them if they weren't careful. Lieutenant Lee used his military training to help them navigate the risky areas, while Dr. Song monitored Yun's reactions to make sure they weren't causing more harm than good. One day, while removing a particularly stubborn repair patch, Han-Su noticed something strange. The living metal around the patch wasn't just damaged, it was changing. The wave patterns were different, more complex. "Yun," he called out, "what's happening here? These patterns, they're not like the others." "That is where I am trying to evolve," Yun replied. "The damage forced me to adapt, to find new ways to survive. But the old repairs stopped the process. They tried to keep me the same when I needed to change." Dr. Song's eyes widened as she looked at her readings. "The quantum processors aren't broken at all," she said. "They're transforming, like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly." Han-Su thought about this. He remembered how his father had taught him that sometimes fixing something meant helping it become something new. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," he said. "We shouldn't try to repair Yun back to its original state. We need to help it complete its evolution." They developed a new approach. Instead of trying to fix the damage, they focused on clearing the way for Yun's natural transformation. Han-Su used his knowledge of both mechanical and biological systems to create special tools that worked with the living metal instead of against it. Dr. Song discovered that she could use her AI interface to communicate with different parts of Yun's consciousness, like talking to different parts of a brain. This helped them understand which areas needed help and which should be left alone to change on their own. Lieutenant Lee found that his combat training was useful in unexpected ways. He understood how systems worked under stress and could predict which parts of Yun might react badly to their help. "It's like treating a wounded soldier," he explained. "Sometimes you have to let the body heal itself." As they worked, they began to see amazing changes. Areas they had cleared of old repairs started to transform. The wave patterns became more intricate, and new structures grew from the living metal. Lights pulsed through the walls like blood through veins. "I feel stronger," Yun told them one day. "More aware. I am becoming what the builders always meant me to be." Han-Su worked tirelessly, often forgetting to eat or sleep. He felt like he was helping something miraculous happen. This wasn't just about fixing a ship anymore. It was about helping a living thing reach its full potential. One night, as he was taking a break in what they now called their camp near Yun's heart, Dr. Song showed him something on her computer. "Look at these energy readings," she said. "Yun isn't just a warship. It's becoming something else, something more powerful." "The builders," Yun explained, "did not want us to stay the same forever. They gave us the ability to grow, to change, to become more than what we were. But we needed help to make that change. We needed creatures who understood both the mechanical and the living, who could see the connections between all things." Han Su looked at the walls around them, watching the patterns shift and flow. He thought about how far they had come from that first message on his old computer in Seoul. He had thought he was coming to fix a broken ship, but instead, he was helping bring about something entirely new. "What will you become?" he asked Yun. "I do not know exactly," Yun replied. "But with your help, I am becoming something that even the builders might not have imagined. Something that combines their wisdom with human creativity and understanding." As if to prove this point, a section of wall near them suddenly transformed. The wave patterns shifted and flowed together, creating a beautiful new structure that seemed to glow from within. It was neither purely mechanical nor purely organic. It was something in between, something new. "That's amazing," Lieutenant Lee whispered, watching the transformation. "No," Yun said. "That is just the beginning." None of them knew then how right Yun was. The real transformation was still to come, and it would change not just Yun, but the fate of humanity and the entire galaxy. The warning alarms on the Genesis woke everyone up. Lieutenant Lee rushed to the main computer while Dr. Song checked the long-range sensors. Han Su could feel something different in Yun's walls. They were pulsing faster, like a racing heartbeat. Multiple ships just appeared at the edge of the solar system. Lieutenant Lee reported, his voice tense. "Their energy readings are off the charts." "They are the harvesters." Yun's voice was different now, deeper and more powerful. "They destroy worlds, taking their resources and leaving nothing behind. They are coming for Earth." Through the Genesis's windows, they could see distant flashes of light as the alien fleet moved closer. Dr. Song's face went pale as she looked at her readings. "There are hundreds of ships," she said. "Each one is bigger than anything Earth has ever built. Earth's defenses won't stand a chance," Lieutenant Lee said, reaching for his communication device. "We need to warn Commander Park." But before he could send the message, something amazing started to happen. The walls around them began to glow with bright blue light. The wave patterns in the metal moved faster and faster, flowing like rivers of light. "Han Su," Yun said, "what you helped me become, it is more than anyone expected." The builders didn't disappear. They evolved. They became one with their creations, and now I can do the same. With you. Han Su felt a warm tingling in his hands where he touched the wall. The living metal seemed to respond to him, creating patterns that matched his heartbeat. "What do you mean?" he asked. "The builders learned that the strongest power comes from joining different kinds of life together," Yun explained. "Your human creativity, my builder technology, together we can be something new. Something strong enough to stop the harvesters." Commander Park's face appeared on their screen. She looked worried. "The alien fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours," she said. "We're gathering every ship we have." "But there isn't time to get back to Earth," Lieutenant Lee said. He looked at Han Su. "Whatever we're going to do, we have to do it now." Han Su closed his eyes, feeling the energy flowing through Yun's walls. He remembered everything he had learned about how the living metal worked, how it could change and grow. "What do you need me to do?" he asked Yun. "Trust me," Yun replied. "Let me show you what we can become together." The metal under Han Su's hands became soft like water. It flowed up his arms, but he wasn't afraid. It felt warm and friendly, like being hugged by an old friend. Dr. Song, and Lieutenant Lee watched in amazement as the living metal covered Han Su, forming a kind of shining silver suit around him. Suddenly, Han Su could feel everything in the ship. Every system, every particle of the living metal was connected to his mind. But it wasn't overwhelming. It felt natural, like having new arms and legs. "This is incredible," he whispered. Through his connection with Yun, he could see the Harvester fleet clearly now. He could understand their ships, their weapons, their weaknesses. "We cannot run," Lieutenant Lee said, looking at the approaching fleet. "Earth needs us." Dr. Song checked her instruments one last time. "Whatever you're going to do," she said, "do it fast. They're getting closer." Han Su nodded. Through his link with Yun, he began to reshape the ship. The living metal responded to his thoughts, flowing and changing like clay in his hands. New weapons grew from the hull, combining builder technology with human ideas in ways never seen before. "Dr. Song," he said, his voice echoing with Yun's, "you should return to the Genesis. Take our research back to Earth. They'll need it." "What about you?" she asked. "We'll keep them busy," Lieutenant Lee said, stepping forward to stand with Han Su. The living metal flowed over him too, accepting him as another partner in the transformation. Dr. Song understood. She quickly gathered her data and headed back to the Genesis. As her ship undocked and moved away, Han Su and Lee felt M's power growing stronger. The first harvester ships reached their position. They were huge black vessels shaped like giant spears, built only for destruction. They fired their weapons at Yun, but the living metal simply absorbed the energy, using it to grow stronger. "Ready?" Han Su asked, feeling the ship's weapons charging. "Ready," Lee replied, helping direct the ship's defenses. Together with Yun, they fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The living metal moved faster than any normal ship, dodging attacks and striking back with weapons that combined human tactical thinking with builder technology. When the harvesters fired missiles, Han Su used the living metal to catch them and turn them into new parts of the ship. When they tried to use energy beams, Lee redirected the power back at them. The harvester ships started exploding one after another. Those that tried to run were caught by tentacles of living metal that grew from Yun's hull. Those that tried to fight were overwhelmed by weapons they couldn't understand. "More ships are coming from Earth," Lee reported, watching the sensors. "Commander Park is leading them." But when Earth's ships arrived, they found only debris from the harvester fleet. Yun floated among the wreckage, now almost twice its original size, glowing with blue and silver light. "Han Su." "Lieutenant Lee." Commander Park's voice came through their communications. "Are you there?" "We're here," Han Su replied. "But we're different now. Better. And we're not finished." Through their connection with Yun, they had learned that there were more builder ships out there, sleeping and waiting. More harvester fleets would come too, threatening other worlds. "Go back to Earth," Lee told Commander Park. "Tell them what happened here. Dr. Song has all the data about how this works. Earth will need to prepare. There are more ships like N out there, waiting for human partners." "And what about you?" Commander Park asked. Han Su smiled, feeling the power and freedom of his new form. "We'll be watching," he said, "protecting Earth and looking for others like us." As the Earth ships turned for home, Han Su, Lee, and Un began to move deeper into space. They were no longer just a human mechanic, a soldier, and a damaged ship. They had become something new, proof that when humanity's creativity met the wonders of the universe, amazing things could happen. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, other ancient ships were waiting, sending out their calls across space, hoping to find more human mechanics who could help them transform into something greater than their creators had ever imagined. "Ready to find them?" Han Su asked his partners. "Always ready," Lee replied. "Then let's go," Yun said. "The galaxy is waiting." The ship that had once been broken and alone, now filled with light and life, turned away from the solar system. As they accelerated into deep space, Han Su thought about his old workshop in Seoul. He had always been good at fixing broken things, but now he was helping to fix the galaxy itself. And that was the greatest repair job of all.